Hi there, welcome to the latest video in my series of showing off my collection. I've got to think of a better title for that. Hello there once again, welcome back. If you are indeed coming back, thank you very much for tuning in again. And if you are here for the first time, welcome aboard, and do feel free to check out all the other videos on the channel. There's lots of pickup videos, there's the odd bit of gameplay, there's a few collection video like this as well, and a few other bits and pieces. If you do like what you see, please feel free to subscribe, like, ring the bell and put a comment at the bottom, because it's always good to hear from you. And it's been a while since I've done one of these. So far I've done the Amiga, the Commodore 64, the N64, and the last one I did was a Master System. All great systems, but this one is a bit special because I never actually had one of these growing up, and those of you who watch the Master System video will know exactly the same sort of thing. But this is a bit different, and this comes from an era when I really didn't know a huge amount about computer games. And it was computer games back then, because we were going back to an era where, well, you know what it is using the title card, but I'll just give you a bit of flannel, so that, you know, you can look surprised when I go, here it is, and you go, ah. Going back to the time where things were so much more complicated, I suppose really it's the best way to do it, because until sort of the console era of the late 80s, early 90s really sort of took off, a lot of people were still getting certain cassettes, putting them into machines and waiting 10 minutes, and if you were lucky the thing might have loaded. We then moved on to sort of discs, which was slightly more less time in terms of waiting for loading, but you still had to wait. And it wasn't really until the cartridges, which were prominent in the early 80s, were reintroduced from sort of the mid 80s onwards, and really sort of caught on towards the end, which is a case of like shove, click, turn, play. That was how you want it to be. Even nowadays with Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and Super Hyper Nintendo, whatever it is, there's still a little bit of time, but it's much better. I think now with the fact you can upload games to PS4 and whatever onto the hard drive, it saves a lot of time. We're getting out of the sequence of what I want to talk about today, so I'm not going to go into more of that. It's a conversation for many years in a time when that becomes retro, and hopefully I'm still alive. So today I want to talk to you about something that I missed out on when I was a kid. But having said that, a lot of kids my age didn't seem to have this machine. They were all more sort of geared toward the Commodore 64. Very few people had Amstrads. If they did, they were tortured and basically run out of town. And it wasn't really probably until the Master System came along that people started getting the console. So it really was the Commodore 64 and what we're going to show you today, or that brand anyway, which was sort of the main two computers growing up, and poor people then moved on to consoles and STs and Amigas and something much more technically advanced. So you saw it in the opening titles, and I'll show you it again here. There we go. Today we are going to be talking about the Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2. Now, for those of you who know your stuff, obviously you're going to be thinking, well, wouldn't it be better started with the ZX81 and then sort of moved on to the 48K? And yeah, it's all well and good that, but for me, personally speaking, this was actually the model that made me sort of think I'd really like one of those, because with the old style, with the 48K and anything else before that, you'd have to run a separate tape recorder alongside of it. This has got the tape recorder built in. For those of you who own the Plus 3 version, that was the one with the disc drive on it, which for some reason, like the Amstrad disc version, was always £100 more expensive than this one. So this is it, and I acquired this. Well, I didn't actually. Well, I did acquire it. Of course, I acquired it. That's why it's here. It's not a figment of your imagination. And my other half bought me this for Christmas 2017, because it was actually up there with, I think that was the same year that Claire bought me the Master System for my birthday and this for Christmas, because those were the two systems that I really wanted that I hadn't got. Then that was surpassed by the 360, which I got last year, and the Wii U, which I got this year, so I'm pretty much there now. So yes, absolutely thrilled to get one of these. And as we always do on these videos, unusually, this is the first one I'm showing you that I've got boxed. I didn't show you one in the Amiga video because they were all boxed downstairs. All the Commodore 64 ones, because they were all boxed downstairs. I couldn't be bothered to take them out. And as I mentioned with the N64 and the Master System, neither of those versions are boxed. So we're going to be showing you inside the box without hopefully damaging it or the box. This is going well, isn't it? Ah, movement. Live television. We're back in a... Right, there we go. Always remember when you're doing these videos to get the stuff out of any boxes first. The reason being is that when Claire got it for me, the box was actually broken. And I've since glued it back to sort of... that was hard work, that was. I'm not going to say sort of shop condition, but at least it was back where it should have been. Just a bit tighter to get the bits and pieces out of it. So, bits and pieces, the main box. Right, so this is it. And as you probably can't see, oh, you might be able to see, there you go. Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2. So it's still got the original. A little bit of a damage there for all the purists, but I think that's possibly because that's upside down. Let's turn it over. Oh, there we go. There we go. That cable's moved. That's why that's sticking out there. Right, so what you want to see is the 128K Plus 2. I've always liked how this looks. I know a lot of people don't like it. This is the version which wasn't made by Sinclair. This was the one that came out of Amstrad when Alan Sugar purchased it, and you can see it's absolutely fine. No keys missing. It's a really good example of it. Bit of dirt around the outside, which you probably can't see on the tape machine, but what I like about the tape machine is the fact that it opens like that, and there's no sort of like delay. It opens straight away without any question, anything answered. All the keys are there, and actually that looks better than my keyboard at work. I've got to be honest with you. Gives you an idea how dirty my keyboard at work is. Yeah, so it's got all the things on there. Data recorder. So tape goes in. Again, just for the benefit there. Put that in. Press play. Off we go. Loading it in. Let's go around the outside. It's actually a reset button there, which I didn't realise there was. Actually, there's a reset button there, and you've also got joystick ports 1 and 2. But as you can see there, it says use only Sinclair joysticks. Now this, at the time, was quite what's the word? Controversial, I suppose, because in order to play this, you needed to buy the manufactured joysticks that Amstrad were producing. I think it was, they called the SJS joysticks, and they were notoriously crap. Because what happened was, the joystick port there was not configured as in other joystick ports. So I haven't got the joysticks. I had 2 joysticks account. I haven't got them here in the room at the moment, but I think they were Quickshot 1s. And it's a standard, the same with the Atari 2600 port at the back. But because they decided to manufacture these themselves, they changed the mapping on the ports. So you put that joystick in there and it wouldn't work. It moved things around, but it wouldn't do what you wanted it to do. So you only had to buy the SJS joysticks, which now I understand, quite difficult to get hold of because they were so badly made that most people threw them out or bashed them or what have you. So, yeah, a bit disappointing really. So that's one of the reasons why I've not been able to play many games on it, because I haven't A, got round to remapping the joystick, or B, got round to remapping the Spectrum. There is something called a Kempson adapter which you can get, which you can plug in the back of this, and I think I will show you the expansion port in a minute. I believe that will go in the back of there, and then you can plug a joystick into it and you can play it. But again, those are quite difficult to find and quite expensive. Let's just take you through the back of the Spectrum. So you've got your regular connection, that's where the tape, you can put the tape in there and the sound. You've got the TV connector, the RGB connector, the aux connector. I'm just reading these things, you can see this for yourself. Whatever that is, the RS232 MIDI. I'll actually mode to plug a MIDI thing into it. There's the expansion port there, which I believe would go in the Kempson joystick, would go in there. There's also the power supply slot and also a port for the printer, and on this side there is absolutely nothing. Show you the underneath there. Nothing really to see apart from it's made in China, and the serial number is GC20612K030A, which may or may not mean anything to anybody. I don't know. As I said, I think that looks absolutely wonderful. Could do with a bit of a clean round, but it's barely been out of its box since I had it. I've got to be honest with you, because if I can't play the joystick, I just have to use keys, and I cannot be bothered to do that. I'm just too old now to be fiddling around with that. So yeah, so I'll drop that somewhere safe. If you hear a crash in the background, I've dropped it, so there we go. And it came with what can only be described as a power pack, which is absolutely massive. Look at the size of that. Wow. Giant. It does work, so I've tested it before. There's also the original plug there as well, which has even got a plug protector on it. Also the cable for the television as well to plug it back in, and lots of little bits of polystyrene everywhere because I made a bit of a mess with the box. Interestingly, I love seeing stuff like this. Is when you know you're buying something which comes with it. You've actually got the manual, nice thick book there with lots of code which you can type in. People, of course, back in the day, this is how computer games started, coding in their bedrooms. All sorts of bits and tips, and then how to use things up, how to load things from tape, and yeah, all sorts of things. There's a calculator on there as well. I've just seen it says using the calculator. This is really, I like this as well. The ZX Spectrum software and peripherals catalogue, January 1984. I'm pretty sure this came out. Did it come out later? I'm hoping. Well, I don't know. Maybe it did. I don't know. I'm sure there wouldn't. I'm sure it came out a lot later. But there's, you can see here again. It's educational software titles you can buy for it. Because don't forget, when Spectrum was made, it was not made for computer gaming. It was only people who decided to, sort of take it in that direction. And I don't think, I may have read this somewhere. I'm pretty sure that when Sir Clive Sinclair had this idea about doing this computer, he never actually wanted games played on it. He didn't do it. And you can see they've got adventure games, which are the text game. They're the Hobbit ones down at the bottom, which you can probably just about see there. A bit closer with those. And there's games there like Scrabble and chess down the bottom. Oh, and there's also these. I should have worn a different t-shirt. That's Horace t-shirt, which I'm not wearing today, surprisingly enough. There's Horace titles, and of course checkered flag there on the first racing games that came out for it. Horace goes skiing. So yeah, there's all sorts of different things, and it's great to see micro drives and ZX interfaces, and that's a really good, really nice manual to have hold of. And again, it just adds a little bit to what you've got there. There's also an introduction to the ZX Spectrum, as you can see here. This is nice. I love this. This is now with further information, which I'm going to take the time to read to you because might be struggling a bit here. Sinclair continually reviews and redesigns its features in all its products, improving the overall quality of the whole range of computers. The design of the Sinclair Spectrum 128K Plus 2A is based on the Plus 2 model, but contains some improved features which determine the range of software and hardware will operate within the computer. When buying software, you should find that any software available and tape-written for a Plus 3 model will work perfectly on the Plus 2A. The vast majority of software designed for the Plus 2 will also work. So this is a 1 Plus 2A. Fantastic. There you go. If I'd read this initially, I'd have been quite happy with it. When buying additional hardware, your dealer can advise you which products are compatible with the Plus 2, which are also suitable for the Plus 2A. However, all additional hardware that is compatible with the Plus 3 will be suitable for the Plus 2A. Very useful information back in the early 80s. Plus 2A is a built-in printer interface and may be connected to a Centronics standard parallel printer simply by plugging in an Amstrad PL1 printer lead into the port marked printer. Now, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about Sinclair having been bought out by Amstrad. Owners of the previous Spectrum models who have a printer interface may wish to know that it can be used on the Plus 2A, but may only be connected to the port marked Expansion I/O and not to the port marked printer. So, interesting information. Also, fantastically as well, the guarantee is still in here. There we go. That's the original guarantee. So it must be mid-80s, this, earlier than I thought it was. What did this guarantee not cover? Amstrad plc will not compensate you under this guarantee for any loss or damage caused to any item or article used within your Sinclair products, such as but not limited to discs, tapes, records or films. Okay. They will not pay any financial compensation under this guarantee in the event of any defect in or delay in repair of your Sinclair product. Amstrad plc's sole responsibility is to ensure that any genuine under guarantee repair is performed for you. There you go. Fantastic. So great to see something like that. That was inside this little ZX Spectrum box here, which is is that a receipt? No. No, I'll show that in a second. Oh dear. And yeah, it's just a little book explaining how to do that. What I've actually found there is the back of a Football 91 Panini sticker number 291 with a fact on, did you know that the Dell Stadium, that's relating to Southampton. So if anybody knows what that is, they can let me know. I haven't got the front of it, but I'm going to put that back in there. This is great. And then of course there is the basic programming book, which goes into detail with all these things, which is fascinating I'm sure for some people, but I'm not really going to be getting into involved there. But all that was inside here when Claire purchased it, and it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, something like that is just lovely to see. I mean, you know, some of that manuals are a little bit dog-eared, but come on, I mean, that's 35-40 years old nearly. You can't get better than that, can you? So that's that is the computer. I'd love to show you it working, but I haven't got time. So what I'm going to show you instead are some games and sort of waggle them around a bit so they sort of move. You may remember a box like this from the Commodore 64 video. Yep, they're back. The bubble print cardboard boxes. Because I was tidying the games room up a couple of weeks ago. I put all the stuff away, which has been sitting on the floor for months, and in this case over a year, and had some of these boxes left over, so I thought, well, I'll put some games in here. And when she did buy it, she did get quite a few games to go with it. Some of these I've never heard of before because they're Spectrum games and I wouldn't have seen some of these, but hopefully some of these games you'll be able to recognise. Oh, that's nice. So we'll show you what we got. So we'll start off with this one, which is Spitfire 40, which is a Microsoft problem. I think Microsoft obviously was related to the... Oh dear. And I'll just show you the inside there. So we've got the manual and the tape. I've been open in years. And there we go. You can see what the back of that is. And again, some of this, you know, this sort of stuff to some of you guys out there is going to be completely and utterly, you know, what is it? Because of how you've sort of gone through your games. Next one up, oh yeah, we used to play Scrabble on the computer. I think buying Monopoly games is silly. This is the equivalent of. Loads of versions of this came out at the time. And you got the inside there, manual as well. I think I've got a Scrabble game for the Commodore 64 as well. There we go. This is the Make-A-Chip program, and I'll just read the back of it. Make-A-Chip teaches you the basic elements of circuit design, shows you how they fit together, and then lets you design and test your own circuit. This game was sort of made for Muppets like me. It's brilliant. When you've designed a circuit, you can give it inputs and outputs, and your ZX Spectrum will check it for you. Then it will run it, it'll tell you what's wrong so that you can modify it. Make-A-Chip is a fascinating way of finding out how computer logic works. Yeah, I'm chuffed with that, because I could actually, it's this sort of thing I can actually get. I mean, that manual looks like it's never been used. The tape's just fallen out. Not to worry. Tapes. Oh, it has been. I don't know. It may have been loaded or not. I don't know. I like the inside of those boxes. That's nice, plasticky, sort of 80s, very 80s. That in the inside. So yeah, we'll give that a go at some point, maybe. And then we've got the Sinclair and Macmillan. Science Horizons Survival. I'm not sure whether that's connected with the old ITV Nature programme. I mean, ITV used to do nature documentaries because the BBC had David Attenborough and that was it, and then they had this programme called Survival. And discover what it's like to be an animal in the wild, choose to be a lion stalking your prey and escaping human hunters, or be more adventurous as a hawk, mouse, or even a butterfly. I'm not sure what the graphics were like. There's only one way to find out, I hear you cry. And there will be one day. Oh, the smell of 1980s Britain, lovely. Probably the second time it's been opened in about 40 years. So those are the big box games. Everything. Oh, there's one more. I'll show you. This is Matrix Grid Runner 2. Now, for those of you who know your stuff, that's firstly a bit wonky on the old protective cover there, but you'll also there we go. No better, but you'll notice it's got camels on it. This is because it's a Jeff Minter game, and Jeff Minter games, when they came out, he was a well-known programmer and game developer who created Attack of the Space Mutant Camels or something like that. I can't quite remember what it was. Very well known, and you can see this big camel on the back there. Of course, no graphics, because they never used to give us graphics back in the day. The box is slightly split there, which is a bit of a shame. There's no instructions, but it is in there. 1984. It's 10 years since the terrible and fearsome grid wars shook humanity to the core. The enemy was eventually defeated, but the cost in human lives were devastating. Now the droids have returned, and they are not alone. And they brought their camels. Oh dear. Lovely. Right, so that's all the big box stuff. We've just got some small bits and pieces. We've also got some magazine tapes as well, and I'll talk you through those very, very quickly. First up is Daley Thompson's Super Test. Now, this is on the Hit Squad label. For those of you who would have seen my Commodore videos, we're very there was Daley Thompson Decathlon and Daley Thompson Super Test, which was a follow-up, which has had a few more events in there. I can see from the front we've got pistol shooting, tug of war, cycling. It was a bit more like the old TV programme Superstars. I appreciate I'm talking about 5% of the audience at the moment, but there's also a third Daley Thompson game called Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge, which was tied in with the '88 Olympics. Notoriously for having to grab hold of your joystick, if you pardon the expression, and sort of shake it vigorously, and basically force you to go and buy another one very, very quickly. I'm sure it was a huge scam back in the day. We'll create these games which knacker people's joysticks up. What a fantastic idea. They'll be buying 3 a week. This one, nothing to do with the Discovery Channel programme, but it's called Gold Rush. That's a joke for about 10 people. And again, no idea what it's going to be like. There aren't any graphics on the inside. Again, quick description off the back. Have you ever wanted to lay your hands on pots of gold? Haven't we all? Well, here's your chance to become a gold miner in the strange planet of Auron. Catch nuggets of the precious metal as they fall from the roof of a vast cavern, but beware the demons from the depth. They're hungry for gold and will kill you if they catch you. Yeah, I don't know. It's a Thorn EMI thing, which didn't they make films and music back in the day. Up next, Melbourne House. Melbourne House makes me think of Double Dragon. If you played any of the home conversions of Double Dragon on the computers, not the consoles, but the computers, Double Dragon. Melbourne House responsible for that. Awful. This is a game called Penetrator. Yep, there was a game called Penetrator back in the day. Amazingly fast arcade action, includes training mode and unique customizing feature. The fastest and most exciting game for your 48K Spectrum. But again, no graphics. Your mission is to penetrate through 4 defence rings, and at which point I'm stopping there for the sake of cleanliness and morality. If you know anything about any of these games, by the way, because if I don't know anything about them, I can't tell you an awful lot. And then we're going to be a very, very sort of short video. So if you do know any of these games, I do ring the bells, or just drop me a line, because I'd like to know more about them. I mean, obviously the way would be to play them, yes, I know, but well, you know, that's why. Here's one which we all remember, which is Paperboy, which is a game which now is basically about I suppose, a defunct profession. You sort of now be called restaurant leaflet boy, because you know newspapers now. I mean, apart from free papers you get through your door, and in very extreme circumstances, who gets newspapers delivered nowadays? No one does. The art of physical print, same way as physical media, as you can see right behind me. That sort of thing is now dying out. Paperboys, yes, I mean I get 2 free papers a week for the local newspaper. I tend to read them sort of like flick through from front to start in about 3 minutes, and one of them, and the other one less than a minute, or sometimes just go straight into the recycling. So this is very much a game of space, but it was an incredibly fantastic game. A lot of not one of my favourite games, I've got to be honest with you. This is the budget re-release. You can see there it was picked up from Star Choice Software for $2.99. So somebody has bought this from a corner shop or a newspaper shop, because that's where those sort of games went to. It is a budget re-release. When it came out, it was immensely popular in the arcade. It also featured in a couple of television programmes back in the day. I'm not sure, I can't remember the exact names. First Class, I think, probably was one of them, with Debbie Greenwood, if you remember what I'm talking about. If you don't, move on. Yeah, not one of my favourite games. I found it a bit dull. But, BC's Quest for Tyres, and this is an incredibly old game, which I remember from just lots of magazines and sort of magazines and YouTube channels. And it's based on a cartoon by a guy called Johnny Hart, who I used to think was related to Tony Hart, except he lived in America and Tony Hart was in the UK. If you don't know who Tony Hart is, he was always on television when you were growing up doing painting. He was the one, he wasn't Rolf Harris. And it's yeah, I've never played it before. I've only ever seen it. So yeah. Also, it's a Sierra Online published this particular piece of software. Interesting, because Sierra were more known for their, at the time, text adventures and things like that. This is an absolute classic, from what I understand. I'm not sure whether this is actually the original inlay card. I'm guessing it's not going to be, because it's actually someone's. I've actually got a copy of Attic Attack, but this isn't the original, because you can see quite clearly there it's a, what we used to call back in the day, a copy. And basically someone's sort of gone and made this game, got the original game, taped it to something else. And that's what you used to do back in the day. One tape recorder, press play, press record, and hopefully, all things being equal, it would record the data from one to the other, and then you could just distribute that game around, and that's how it was. But Attic Attack is an all-time classic, and there's also a game on here called Sheer Panic as well, which I think I've heard of, or that could be just part of my daily life. I don't know. When I wake up in the morning, I've got to go to work. Next up is now Batman. Now, if you've remember Batman, there were a number of different sort of games for Batman. This is the isometric 3D game. There were also at the time Batman the movie, and also Batman the Caped Crusader, which was sort of done in the style of comic book. So this one, again, very well regarded. Nice looking cover there. I like that. I never played this one. I've played the other Batman game, not played this one, so I'm looking forward to giving that one a go. We played Head Over Heels. It's sort of from that angle. Completely different game. Yeah, this is interesting. This is the Sinclair, the Your Sinclair number 4 4-pack. So we've got some, as I mentioned, got some magazine tapes in it. And of course, most of you won't know what they are. Back in the day, if you were buying magazines, we were talking this week. We were talking back earlier about sort of physical print media. Back in the day, you used to buy magazines to go through, and as magazines sort of time came on, you'd eventually get things stuck to it, like tapes or discs, when we got into the 16-bit era, and they pack them through like demos or little games or whatever, and these were actually sort of like games. Sometimes it'd be demos, sometimes it'd be games, and this one here is a Your Sinclair, which is one of the magazines. Also Your Sinclair. What's the other one that came out? Oh, God. There are two really big Sinclair, Sinclair User, was it? SU? Sinclair? Yes, I think it was Sinclair User, two big ones I can think of at the moment. There might be a third, which I'm missing, possibly. There was only one magazine when I was a kid, it was Zap 64 anyway. But they've actually put 4 games on the frontier on this particular tape. Complete games, which are Mars Sport, Ninja Hamster, which sounds like a quality title, Wizard's Lair, and Moonlight Madness. So I've got absolutely no idea if these are any good or not. Mars Sports from Hewson, Moonlight Madness from Blue Ribbon, Ninja Hamster from CRL, Wizard's Lair from Blue Ribbon. Those are the software houses anyway. So 4 games on that one there. Now I've got this one. I've got this on the Commodore 64, so I'm absolutely Hang on, I just noticed something sticking out there. Is that meant to be stuck out there? There it is, the instructions written there. This is the Ultimate in Battle Action Beachhead, which is a sort of a war game. Ultimate 3D action, multi-screen and amazing sound, possibly. But you have to sort of, you're operating at one point, I know, sort of the big guns out on battleships and trying to shoot enemy planes down, and then guiding a submarine through a sort of bay area without being detected by the U-boats. Really good fun. Sold a bucket load of copies back in the day, and there was a sequel as well. I played the 64 version, but I've not played that one, so I'll be interested to see how I get on with that. Got some more free tapes in here. Yep, obviously, it's got a lot of their games from the corner shop. This is Cup Manager, which has also come from Star Choice Software for $2.99, and it looks to me like it's a Football Manager type clone. Not Football Manager as in the current stuff, but Football Manager back in the day, which is basically a lot of text and very, very, very limited match action. If you laugh now at the earlier Football Manager titles from the mid-2000s, you'll have a field day with this, I tell you. I don't know. You always tend to find that probably the big Football Manager was the big one to start with, but I think Tracksuit Manager was probably the best example I've seen of a management game on an 8-bit system. We mentioned it earlier. We've shown you the Spectrum manual. There's actually a copy of this in a checkered flag, which is one of the very first sort of racing games for the Spectrum. Ever wanted to drive a Formula 1 racing car flat out round a circuit? Well, you won't get a chance on this, mate. Instead, checkered flag will place you behind the steering wheel of a car, and you'll need to keep an eye on the road and one eye on the dashboard as you steer and brake to avoid hazard and work your way through the gears in search of a lap record. An exciting full-colour machine code game. Machine code game? Oh my god. Really? Okay. Oh, I used to hate this game. Oh, this one's a bit bashed, actually. That's a bit of a shame of a cracked case. I might have a spare one somewhere. This is Way of the Exploding Fist. I played an awful lot of this on the BBC at school, because that was one of the few games you could get on the BBC at school. And I wasn't particularly keen on it then. Beat This, a quote by Jeffrey Thompson, world karate champion. He may well have been. It's also by Melbourne House, so I'm not looking forward to that. I wasn't particularly keen on that game back in the day. Here we go. Quote from Jeffrey Thompson. It's pretty hard to beat me. Blowing your own trumpet there, Jeff. But the Way of the Exploding Fist gave me my hardest fight yet. Of course it did. Yes. Next up, now another one of these free tapes, which is a Your Sinclair Magnificent 7. I'll just show you the front. Now it shows, what have we got? Turnar Nog, the complete game. Now, I've got that on the Commodore 64. Go back to my video and you'll find it somewhere amongst the 12 hours of footage. A playable demo of Armalite. Ninja Hamster complete game. Well, that's great because I've already been given that one on another tape, haven't I? It's already on that other one. Brilliant. So they gave it away on tape number 4, and 3 months later they've given it away on tape number 7. Obviously, by popular demand, we all missed Ninja Hamster when he gave it away. Can we please give it away again? Ethnipod, complete game. 10th Frame complete game. The 10th Frame was a bowling game. Before Wii Sports came along and completely changed how temping bowling was done, there were a number of rubbish games, and 10th Frame was probably the best game for about 20 years in terms of getting accurate, a reasonable bowling simulation. And then Wii Sports completely came along and changed it. How to Be a Complete Bastard is also on here. That's why there's Adrian Edmondson from 1987 on the front. A complete game as well. And also something called Pokerama with a picture of Popeye. I'm not quite sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete games, a playable demo, and something called Pokerama. That ain't bad, really. That ain't bad. And that was free. Giving stuff away. So those games would have cost you, $7.99 when they came out brand new. Not bad. What have we got? Oh, There we go. This is tape number 3, so obviously, we've got quite a few of these. 1, 2, 3, we've got a few of these. So another Magnificent 7 from your Sinclair. I'm rather thrilled by what's in the middle there. And this is the Ice Temple complete game, Mystical playable demo, Dominion playable demo, Syntax, that's not an error, complete game, Top Fruit Machine, because that's really going to sell the game. This Poker Armor must be something to do with your Sinclair, because it's also on here as well. But right in the middle, I was absolutely thrilled to see Rampage, the complete game. And those of you who are probably more familiar with Rampage, that god-awful film starring The Rock. But of course, back in the day, Rampage was an arcade game where you took control of one of 3 monsters and went around sort of destroying office blocks, and it got converted to pretty much every single system. Then got picked up again on the N64 much later, and there's a version on the Wii, which I think also came out on the PlayStation 2. I may be wrong on that one, but certainly on the Wii, because I've got it, which is Rampage Total Destruction, which also has the N64 game in there and the original arcade game. So this is a game which has had sort of like 30 years worth of life, and they just went and killed it with that dreadful film, which had nothing to do with it. Which is a fine example of sort of a film made about a game which has got no sort of story to it. You just, I've got 3 monsters to go around destroying buildings. That's every bloody film that comes out every year. That's not, you don't need to use the name Rampage to attach it to it. I think I watched about half an hour and I got absolutely fed up with it, so I turned it off. Oh, boo earns. That's a bit of a shame. There's no tape in this one. How disappointing. So I'm not going to... Am I going to be completely disappointed? No, I'm not going to be completely disappointed. There's not really an awful lot on this one. I'll show you the box anyway. There's no tape in this one. Playable demo of Atomic Robo Kid, which I remember. That's an arcade conversion of a game, arcade title. Pokemania, one again. And then complete games of Destructs, Spin Dizzy, which again is an isometric puzzle game which was insanely popular back in the day, very well reviewed. Bumpy, Mach 3, and HKM, which I think was a precursor to Street Fighter, because the original Street Fighter when it came out was a load of rubbish, and I'm pretty sure HKM was also an arcade machine which took elements of that. HKM stood for Human Killing Machine. I might be wrong in thinking the two are connected, but they were very similar games, and when they both came out, they were both average arcade games, which resulted in even more average home conversions. So, you look at the juggernaut, which is now Street Fighter. I mean, let's be honest with you, had it gone another way when it first started, it might not have even got that far. You may not have even had Street Fighter 2. The world may have not have existed for Street Fighter 2, which, in a parallel universe, would be quite nice, actually. We talked about him earlier. We mentioned the T-shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Horace and the Spiders. There we go. Horace was this blue character here. He was sort of like the Sinclair version of Sonic, just a lot slower. Same colour though. Same colour. I never played a Horace game. What should I say? Jumping Jack, which came out of Imagine. Imagine, very well-known software house from the mid-80s. Jumping Jack, the most addictive experience yet from Imagine. 20 levels of fun and craziness as you help Jack through hazard-filled screens of moving platforms, each progressively more difficult and each with funnier and zanier consequences. Hilarious consequences. For failure. Once you start playing, you'll be hooked for life. Well, there's a thing to say. Would you still be playing Jumping Jack 30x years later? Possibly not, I don't know. I never even heard of that one. So, doesn't really give you an awful lot of idea what you see that on the shelf. All it says there is Jack for any Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, someone else is more games buying from the local news agent with Jockey Wilson's Compendium of Darts. Now, for those who don't know who Jockey Wilson is, he was a very, very, very popular darts player back in the day, regularly clashing with the likes of John Lowe and Eric Bristow, etc., Keith Deller, all those names from back in the day. Very, very popular character indeed. And it's darts. It's like snooker. It's what it is. 6 of the best games are played on a match play dart board. As well as championship darts, you can challenge Jockey Wilsey to a game of Shanghai football, darts bowls, 10 darts century, or scram. So it's like, you know, darts, but cards, but with darts. Different sorts of games you can play there. I don't know if it's any good or not. I've never heard of it. Oh, there's another one of these blank tapes. I'll just show you that. It's got one side, it's got Alchemist, and on the other side, it's got Hungry Horace, which I think is another Horace game. Remember Horace from a few moments ago? Of course you do. Yes. And this is the last pile of games, you know. And I've not knocked any over yet, which is fantastic. There is still time. There is still time. Move that over there. Put it over there. Right, so the last lot of games we have. Some real interesting ones here. I'm sure you're going to enjoy these. Spectrum Centipede. Those of you remember the old Centipede arcade game where you were at the bottom sort of firing upwards and the centipede was coming down to the mushrooms and avoiding the spiders and all sorts. I'm guessing this is one of these games which is obviously not a legal version of Centipede. It's one that's been put together by somebody and they've called it Spectrum Centipede to avoid getting sued. At least that's their story. I'll let you try and pronounce that one yourself. I'm not even going to bother trying. Trapped in an Aztec temple, your only means of escape is through the passages, risking the vengeance of the Aztec gods. Written by somebody called Gareth Briggs, who I'm sure is not related to Johnny in any way, shape or form. Yeah, I don't know if that's like an Aztec adventure game, but it's also Virgin Games. Top corner there. Unusual. So I've never heard of that one. I think I've got this on the Amiga, not the Amiga, the Commodore 64. It's a Codemasters budget game, Bigfoot, which I'm sure there's going to be a quote on there somewhere. So, you watch the Commodore 64 video, you'll know Codemasters are very well known at the time, very well known at the time for putting their own blurb on the front of games to make it sound like the magazines loved them. In a lot of cases, the games were great, and you were getting a good game for a couple of quid, and it's absolutely brilliant. And that's what you say. This game is absolutely brilliant, quoted by David Darling, who nobody ever heard of, and then you actually realise he actually owned the company. Of course he's going to say it's absolutely brilliant. He's not going to tell you shit, is he? So it says chart hit at the bottom. Probably was a chart hit at the time. It doesn't. There's no sort of. Oh, there is. This is a really great game. Loads of puzzles, rooms, caves, Bigfoot disco, killer model airplanes. Brilliant fun, but there's no sort of quote attributed to anybody. It's just one they put on the back. Did you have to really say Bigfoot disco? Yes, there is. This was actually the game I tried when I got the Spectrum at the Christmas. This was the game I actually tried to play, and then realised the joysticks weren't working properly. This is Bomb Jack 2, which is another budget re-release. This was actually again, Bomb Jack was a game that some people really loved. I never sort of saw the appeal of Bomb Jack. I played it back in the day, and I didn't enjoy it. And I played it on the Commodore 64 and enjoyed it even less. I'm pretty sure this was a non-arcade. Bomb Jack was an original arcade game, which was converted to home system. I think this was his original title. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't get very far with it because I couldn't get it to work, obviously. And this is the software starters pack, Horizons, and it'll tell me that an introductory software cassette for ZX Spectrum includes a comprehensive keyboard trainer and an entertaining and illuminating range of programs. Well, that begs to differ, doesn't it? We'll have to try it first. Roller Coaster, which came from Elite. We just showed you an Elite game, which is Bomb Jack 2. Because they were trying to relaunch the Spectrum with a different couple of years back, wasn't it? We've had the problem with the Vega and the Spectrum Next and all this business, and they were trying to do something as well, and they ran into copyright issues. This one is another Hit Squad one. Again, it comes out with newsagents. I think they knocked the price down from $2.99 to $1.99. There's a pen mark at the bottom there. This is a film based on the It's the game based on the well-known at the time, but not very well-known now, Short Circuit, which regularly gets trotted out at Christmas along with its sequel at some stupid hours in the morning. I think it was on at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something on Channel 4 this year. It's about a robot called Johnny Five. I was never a fan of the film at all. Although I did remember when I was at secondary school, to give you an idea of how far back this was going, there was a sequel out in the cinema called Short Circuit 2. Intelligently enough, and we were at school, and in our art design class we had to design a record sleeve and make up a band name using the 7 letters of the name of the school, and just for accuracy purposes, I sort of did my version of this and then put on the front of it, using my own sort of Codemaster sort of thing, song as heard in the film Short Circuit 2. So, if that makes any sense to anybody, you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, look, it's another Horace game. Moving on. Horace Goes Skiing, which I think means I've got all 3 Horace games. Oh, Horace Goes to the Cave. Horace in the Caves was one of them. I'm sure I've got. Well, I have that one already. Horace and the Spiders. I'm sure it's Horace in the Caves, Hungry Horace, and Horace Goes Skiing. There we go. Looking forward to playing that one in my Horace t-shirt. This is I've seen one, Hong Kong Phooey. Didn't know they made a game of this. Well-known 70s cartoon series, repeated endlessly through the 80s. I don't know much about this. I played a few of the high-tech software games. I played I think the one I enjoyed the most was Yogi's Treasure Hunt on the Amiga. I actually finished that one. But it's one of the games you go around picking stuff up. I'm not sure what this one is. Baron von Bankjob has escaped from jail. Who comes to the rescue? It's Hong Kong Phooey emerging from the sticky top drawer of his special file cabinet with the help of trusty police station cat Spot. Okay, that's the sort of game I'll go. Yeah, I'll just put this on for a bit. It sounds absolutely thrilling. This does. Everest Ascent. If you fancy being a mountain climber, this is going to be the game that's going to sort it out for you. An adventure game on of strategy and planning for the 48K Spectrum from Richard Shepherd Software. I went to school with a Richard Shepherd. I don't think it was him, because he'd have been about my age, 8. He was school age. Try to reach the top of the world in a strategic vertical adventure. It doesn't actually tell you anything else about it. Okay. I'm interested enough to actually open the inlay card and just read what this is about. Your objective is to reach the top of Mount Everest, but beware, there are many hazards and pitfalls. First, you'll be given £1,000, which would have been like £7 billion back in the day. To finance your expedition. With this, you must hire Sherpas and purchase equipment. Yeah, sounds very accurate, doesn't it? Choose from the list of Sherpas, so they're going to be sort of like different abilities, aren't they? Sort of like I don't know, avalanche invincibility and sort of goat charming, I'm guessing. Fascinating. If you know about that game, do let me know. I'd like to know more about it, because it'll take me quite a while to plug all this in and set it all up. Then we've got Spectrophobe, which is it doesn't tell me anything else about it other than the fact there's a giant spaceship on the front of it. It's from Arctic Computing Limited, who were based in Brandersburton in Driffield. You're from Driffield? Yeah, it doesn't actually tell you anything about the game. It won't look like that, I can guarantee it. Oh, it's the bloody phone again. Guarantee every time I do now, I'm going to get interrupted by a phone call, and somebody will answer it. I'll carry on. This one is about... Hooray, someone... Thank you very much for answering the phone. Good grief. I'm going to have to unplug it up here when I come up here in future. Anyway, back to reality. Trash Man. this is a very well known game. Again, we've got Paperboy and we've got Trashman, and this is a sort of going around picking rubbish up from various houses, very much like Paperboy. Again, very well known game. I love this. Trashman by Malcolm Evans will capture the imagination of what? Picking up rubbish? You're not going to capture the imagination, just go and do it. That's what we do every week. We take our rubbish out, you know, put the stuff in the bin, take it out. It's exactly the same thing. And thrill you with its superb graphics and fast moving action. Doesn't actually tell you anything else about it. Penultimate game then. This will be, again, what people remember. Horrible looking front cover. Chuckie Egg 2. Now again, I only played this on the Amiga, and the only reason I played this on the Amiga was because there was a disc going around at a time with a, shall we say, something that teenage boys are rather interested in, picture-wise, attached to it. No interest in the game whatsoever. I did actually play the game once I got past the disc, past the images. I did actually play the game, yes. There's a story in itself. I can tell you that one another time. Chuckie Egg 2. But yeah, I'm not one of my final favourite games. And the final game of this particular video, you'll be pleased to know, you can go and do something else now, is something called Decor Wreckers, which I don't know, whether it's like a Paceman Pat game or sort of home. Here's a fast-paced arcade game that will drive you crackers. Your task is simply enough to paint the screen solid with your nippy paint roller, but beware of the numerous interlopers along the way with ingenious names such as Sid Spider, Freddy Fly, Bertie Bug and Sammy Snail. Okay, looks about as fun as it looks, I expect. Scorpio Software, what were you thinking of? So there you go, those are all the games that came with that 128K plus 2A, which I must now remember to say, because having now read the manual, it's a bit more different to what I thought it was. And like I said, I had that for Christmas a couple of years ago. So my next thing is to get a Kempson adapter or sort of start hacking away through one of the quick shot joysticks I've got and just trying to be able to play those a bit more. But it's a real fantastic piece of, you know, old time kit. It really is, you know, look at that. That is old school gaming at its very best. We're taking it right back. When people say retro, and I know I use the word retro an awful lot in my descriptions and things, but a lot of the stuff I do is sort of like last generation or the generation before. This is proper freaking retro, this is. Now, you don't get any more stripped back than that. But wait, or do I? Because last year I had an opportunity to pick up something which was incredibly appealing to me, and it came from the strangest of sources, and it was something I never thought that I would own. So guess what, there's a part 2 to this video. This has been part 1, which I hope you've enjoyed, but please come back for part 2 where I show you something even more remarkable than that, something which blew my socks off at the time and very much worth sharing with you.